My wife abandoned our family to go find herself. I now just found out the real reason. My wife Mary's family has a history of dementia, developing memory issues in their mid to late 50s. Her mom, grandmother, and several other relatives on her mom's side have developed dementia. Her mom lived with us for 4 years until earlier this year. Father is dead, and our kids are independent and out of the house. Our oldest is in her last semester of college and the younger enlisted. The last 4 years were tough on us. Our kids, our daughter moved for college but moved back for a bit during COVID, and it was hard on our marriage. Living with someone with dementia is brutal. We had talked a lot the last year about taking the remaining college funds, our regular savings, sell or rent the house, we were ready to downsize anyway, quit our jobs, and travel for a year or until the money runs out. We just had to wait for her mom to move into a home. I understand her anxiety about developing dementia, and I was burned out. You lived through COVID working remote, a wife working remote, a college and high school student taking remote classes, and a mother-in-law with dementia, and see how you hold up. Space finally opened up and we were able to move her mom into a care facility. I finally thought I had a chance to breathe. When we moved Mary's mom out, Mary's mental health took huge downward spirals. I went from caring for her mom to caring for her. She felt guilty about putting her mom in a home and had lots of anxiety about developing dementia. Our plan was to start our traveling summer in 2024. 2 months ago, I get home and she's left a note. My friends call it Exhibit A. Basically, she was going on our trip without me. She had quit her job, took most of the savings, and wasn't sure when she'd be back. Maybe a year, maybe sooner. She knew I'd understand, and her location is turned off and my calls go directly to voicemail. I texted the kids a picture of the note. We have our own checking accounts for direct deposits of our paychecks, but we'd transfer most into a joint account to pay the household bills and savings. We both had access to the main savings account. We have joint credit cards we used for household expenses. The 2 cars and mortgage are joint as well. We both also have our own small savings accounts, our own retirement accounts, equally funded, and our own credit cards for gifts and fun things. I decided to close all joint cards and accounts. I waited a month to see if she'd come back, hopefully before she spent our savings, and after receiving only 1 text the first month, I went to a lawyer. She basically said there was very little to do right now, other than change the beneficiaries of my retirement accounts and life insurance. Yay, my wife gets nothing else if I die alone while she's having our adventures. It was only a month and there was no way to serve her papers. My lawyer advised me to keep paying the mortgage and the cars. The cost of trying to get a judge to approve the sale of joint assets was more than making payments. I didn't want to ruin my credit by letting one of our cars get repossessed, but I can't sell it because she's on the title. I get random texts and she sporadically posts on Instagram. Of course, she has comments turned off. I want to block her so bad, but my lawyer advised me that it's better to maintain a communication channel that's not through our kids. Her last post was from Hawaii. She put in the comments how great a husband I was for letting her take this trip. I'm barely making it paying 2 cars, a mortgage, household bills, insurance, hoping there are no emergencies because I have no savings, and she's enjoying our trip. F her. I am so pissed at her. I helped take care of her mom for 4 years, and her when she fell apart after her mom moved into a memory care home, and she returns the favor by abandoning me? I'll never get to take this trip and have to put off retirement. My only solace is the kids are pissed at her, but they'll probably forgive her eventually. Double F her. And I'm no fool. She's hooking up with guys. She looks good. She'll have zero problem getting men. I texted her and asked if she was sleeping around. A week later, she responded that she wasn't. Sure. So, I'm drinking alone on a Friday night, and she's somewhere, probably on a beach, enjoying life. Triple F her. Edit 2. My lawyer has given me a bunch of advice and options. It was just way more than I could possibly include in this post. I could definitely push the issue harder, and I might need to at some point, but all that work is very expensive. Finding her, serving her, getting a judge to sign off, that's not cheap. I'm following up soon, and I plan on talking about these savings and my finances. Until I paid all the bills and realized how little was left, it didn't hit me that I had to worry about money. Here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "Thanking you for letting her take this trip is basically her saying, when I get through living the single life, I'll be coming back to the comfort and security of married life. When she returns, I'd say, "Welcome home, here are your walking papers." OP said she is 100% under the delusion that she's coming back to a marriage. She's had a few conversations with our daughter, and she's convinced I'll understand and forgive her. User 2 commented, "Tell your daughter to pass along the message that you're filing for divorce for abandonment and see if this gets you some traction. I don't generally like the idea of going through kids, but they need to have your back on this. Maybe even tell her they'll cut her off as well if she keeps doing this to you and the family. Maybe even start posting about how she's living the good life and letting your friends and family know what kind of pickle this has put you in. Everyone probably assumes you're on board with this if you're not purposefully driving the true narrative." OP replied and said she only hears what she wants. I asked her to send me an address to serve her papers. She only told me that we'll work it out when she comes home. The F we will. My daughter tells her all the pain she's causing, but she just says that she only has 5 to 10 years left until she gets dementia. It's impossible to know if she'll even develop dementia, but shouldn't she be spending this time with her family? So for some of our more longer time viewers, you may remember this story, but the reason we're reading it again is because apparently there is more to it, and this was one of the stories I very much wanted the most to get an update for, because when I heard that she just gallivanted around the freaking Hawaii and the Caribbean with this man's money, well, both of their money, but half of his money, sleeping with other dudes, I was like, oh, I feel disgusted and hurt and offended that she's just like, no, I'm not sleeping around. I have dementia. I can do what I want. I'm a Scorpio. Screw her. Let's continue. Update. An update from my original post. I'm feeling much more positive now that the financial situation has become a little more manageable. Basically, I'm running up debt that will get paid off when I sell the house. Even with lawyer fees, I have 6 to 8 more months before I have to worry about money, assuming there are no emergencies. My friend's wife gave me some good advice. Don't go from being a hero to a villain in your kids' eyes. How I talk about and treat my wife will determine my future relationship with my kids. I don't give a damn about my wife, but I don't want to make her a sympathetic figure or drive them away from both of us. I followed up with the lawyer, by the way. Basically, she said we're going to have her pay back the savings she took through a reduction in her share of the assets. Any division of assets will include the savings she took. She'll also have to repay the money I spent maintaining the household while she was gone. There is plenty of equity in her share of the house and her retirement plans to cover that. She said that our finances are so intertwined after nearly 25 years of marriage, my wife is going to get some share of the assets. Best case is she agrees to the terms of the divorce and it's relatively cheap and quick. Otherwise, it gets complicated and expensive. She gave me a lot of options and how much I can expect to spend, so I decided to just mostly wait. I got a couple of credit cards with promo rates for purchases and transfers that gives me breathing room and I can conserve cash. I'll just pay them off when I sell the house. Now that my financial situation is less stressful, I'm actually enjoying her being gone. I'm free to do whatever I want, whenever. I don't have to cook or clean or take care of anyone. The house is quiet for the first time I can remember. I loved my wife, but her mental health weighed down our marriage. On balance, it was worth it until now. The first month or so, I expected her to be there whenever I'd get home. When someone was at the door or I heard noises, I'd think it was her. I'd check the doorbell cam obsessively. I'm not looking forward to her returning. It has to happen, but when she comes back, I'll have to deal with her. The divorce, getting the house ready to sell, dividing all of our stuff, finding a new place to live. I'm hoping she'll stay away until after New Year's, but my daughter says she thinks mom will be home for Christmas, either to stay or visit. My lawyers will have papers ready to serve her. Hopefully, she'll just agree to the terms and continue her travels. People also had some great advice. Renting or selling the house. Not really feasible right now since I'd have to fix some stuff and get it ready to sell/rent. Since I need a place to live, the amount I net each month, rent, mortgage, rent on a new apartment, storage unit, not worth it. My kids' rooms are still full of their stuff, and I don't want to spend the time and effort to clear them out and put them in storage. Advice about getting a home equity line of credit, or a HELOC, and this was great advice. I didn't realize I didn't need both people to get a loan. If I need more money, I can go this way. In the short term, the promo rates on the credit cards were cheaper and easier than getting a HELOC. Advice on serving my wife divorce papers or getting a divorce in absentia. This is something I might need to do eventually, but the cost in lawyer fees goes up exponentially in cases like this. I'm comfortable just waiting for now. Advice on looking at the phone bill to see where she's at and possibly going. I did look at her usage and did notice that she doesn't post on social media until after she leaves a place. Like when she posted about Hawaii, she made a call that day that originated in Los Angeles. She posted about a cruise, and I figured out the dates, trying to serve her at the port possibly, but it ended a couple of days before she posted. She tried adding international calling to her line, but I blocked it, so she removed her phone from our account. Here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said, "Oh my gosh, I am infuriated on your behalf. The audacity of, my husband is so great for letting me take this trip. The petty in me hopes she'll be home for Thanksgiving because I want her world to explode." OP said, "She's told her family she won't be home for Thanksgiving. Nobody told her my daughter and I are spending Thanksgiving with her family though. She can see the posts of us having a good time without her." User 2 said, "Please change the locks on the house so she can't just waltz back in while you're out one day. I am so angry for you. I've been married for 23 years, and if my husband did this to me, God help anyone between me and him." OP replied with, "She left her keys. I changed the code on the security system, the passphrase, and password. I also found a new hiding place for the emergency key we had in the backyard." And finally, user 3 said, "So she's just going to blow through all the money and then assumes you'll take her back and care for her when dementia hits her?" OP said, "Seems to be her plan, but it's not mine." New update. My wife texted me in the middle of December that she'd be home for Christmas. I told her that we, our daughter and I, would be at my brother's. She obviously wasn't welcome. I'd leave her car in the driveway and the fob in the backyard. She wasn't allowed in the house unless I was there. She didn't have the keys to get in, so she spent Christmas with her sister. When we got back, I met with her. I decided to not be overly confrontational because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of thinking I cared enough to be mad. She was taken aback about how detached I was. I could tell it bothered her and that I didn't show her much emotion, not even anger. I just wanted her to agree to a divorce. This is a summary of several different meetings both with and without our daughter. She hasn't wanted to meet with her mom alone yet. I asked why she left without telling anyone, and she said she didn't want to wait a year. She didn't want anyone talking her out of it. She didn't want to work anymore. She wanted to leave before her mental health got worse. I'm sure it's mostly because she didn't want me to stop her from taking the money. She knew I would take care of everything with the kids and house when she left. We had decided to go summer of 2024 for a few reasons. Packing everything and getting the house ready to sell was going to be a lot of work. We wanted to make sure our daughter graduated college, got a job, and was settled. We wanted to make sure we had money when we got back. We wouldn't have a house, cars, or jobs, so we needed money because it could take months to find work and a place to live. We didn't want to have any worries or deal with a mess back home. At some point in our planning, she began questioning to herself, not me, if she ever wanted to go back to our old life. She didn't want to work full-time or buy a house and stay in one place after we got back. She wasn't sure what she wanted, but she didn't think she would figure it out talking to me. I told her that's the reason we were taking the trip, to figure those things out together, to see what we wanted for the next part of our life. I asked her why she didn't just get a divorce before she left. Then she wouldn't have had to do this behind our backs, and she would have had plenty of money without stealing our joint savings. She claims that she didn't want a divorce, that she wanted us to live whatever life she figured out. I told her that's not how marriages work, one person deciding for the other. Regarding talking and texting our daughter, her family, my texts and voicemails, she realized I might not forgive her. She was right about that, so she might have to visualize a future without me. This is where I had hoped she would say some stupid stuff, like she was going to squander all her money living in a van and making travel vlogs, or she met some guy that she needed to wire money to so they could open an ice cream shop in Alaska. But instead, she wants to be a digital nomad, working part-time, fully remote, and living new places. She tried to convince me to go with her, but I'll never be able to trust her. Plus, I don't love her anymore. Traveling like that for a few years doesn't sound bad, but she doesn't have a job or any work lined up. She's not in her 20s, and that way of living will get old quick. No close friends, no family. Honestly, I want her to make it work, so she won't be here trying to get back in our lives. Continuing, here are some answers to common questions. 1. How are the kids doing? Our son wouldn't have seen us the entire time she was gone anyway. He only responds to her with very short texts. He told me she wanted to see him, but he said he was too busy and wouldn't be able to get away. He lives in the barracks, so it's an easy excuse to avoid her. My daughter stopped talking/texting with her. She's pretty upset. Her worry turned to anger when she realized her mom wasn't having a mental breakdown, but was just being selfish. If her mom was sticking around, they could probably work through it eventually. I just care that my daughter is happy, so whatever she decides, I'll support. 2. Did she spend all the money? She spent about half. I think she realized she needed to figure it out before she completely ran out of money. 3. Did she sleep with anyone? I didn't ask because I didn't care. Asking would imply I wanted her back or it would matter. Even though I didn't ask, she claims she didn't. Not sure if she's lying or not. She might just be saying that because she doesn't want the kids to have another reason to be mad at her. 4. Does she feel bad for what she put us through? She claims she does, and that she wishes she had done it differently. She said getting away and figuring herself out was best for her. I told her she was just being selfish. When she first left, we were worried something would happen to her and that we would never see her again. She's always been self-centered. I told her she's taking the easy route and letting everyone else handle the difficult parts. If she gets sick, the kids will take care of her. Goes broke, live with family. Abandon everyone, they'll forgive her. She thinks her siblings and our children will let her live with them, like we let her mom live with us. I'm sure when she visualizes her future, she sees our kids there. They may not be, and definitely are not in the same way they were before. Despite how it might sound, I'm actually really happy with how it all turned out. Our divorce is far from final, but we've agreed on the big things. We'll sell the house, how to split the retirement and profit the house, how to pay back the money she took, and what I spent maintaining the household. I got most of what I wanted from the settlement, and she'll soon be mostly out of my life. I won't have to pay alimony, and because she's choosing to make significantly less than she was, I won't be forced to support her. That would have been a kick to the teeth. She isn't my responsibility anymore, and I won't have to take care for her if she does get sick or goes broke. I figured I'd start dating again. I didn't realize a 50-year-old man with children out of the house, a good job, and in decent shape would be a catch. I'm not fighting off women with a stick, but I've had a lot more interest than I expected. It's been kind of nice meeting new women. I've worked out the numbers and I'll be doing pretty well after everything is settled, and I only have to support myself. I'm not exactly where I wanted to be, 50, getting divorced, and using Reddit as free therapy sessions, but I'm happier now than I've been in a while. I'm even planning a little vacation of my own. P.S. Thank you to everyone that has responded and reached out. It means a lot. Here are some more relevant comments. User 4 said, I have been regularly thinking of you, especially over Christmas. I'm glad that you've got things sorted and are happy. Your ex-wife is selfish and an idiot. At some point, she's going to realize that she's made a huge mistake and lost the people closest to her. I wish you lots of luck with your dating. As someone else has said, please stick to 35 plus, and I hope you have a very happy and very loving future. OP said, a lot of women that age either have young kids or are looking to have kids soon. Nothing wrong with that, but I've already raised my kids. User 5 said, Sir, you are a catch. FYI, don't date anyone under 30. Cheers to a new life. OP said, I just recently got everyone out of the house. I'm not dating anyone that has young kids or wants kids. Not that it would matter if they did. I took care of that a while back. So, if there's one thing we can learn from this story, one piece of information that we can glean, just one little nugget, it's that OP is a dilf. But also, I'm glad that it resolved this way. Maybe we'll get an update in 10 years when the wife realizes her horrendous mistake. I can't believe what she's done, but I'm glad that OP is getting, his fair share of the assets. I'm glad he's getting remuneration and all that, and the wife he mentions it in that one sentence, she's always been selfish. So I guess this behavior just tracks. But then it extrapolated because she's like, oh, I'm gonna get dementia. And I'm like, your family can help you with that, right? But you know what? Now you've just eliminated it because you wanted to gallivant and prance around in the Bermuda Triangle and sleep with a young man with a great six-pack. Well, too bad. I hope it was worth it because when you're old and frail, no one's gonna be there for you. Selfish MF. The next story. Forget this lady. Story number 2. Am I the a-hole for the way I punished my son for what he said about his friend? I, 36M, have a son, 15M, and a daughter, 17F, and they've been friends with our neighbor who I'll call Ron, 17M, since childhood. Recently, my daughter and Ron were hanging out with a friend, and they walked into our house as they left their friend's place. This is where the problem occurred. My son, who was at home with me, let out a big sigh after seeing Ron and asked why he was here. I was confused by what he meant. That's when my son vented about being tired of Ron's constant presence and made hurtful comments about his sexuality. Ron is gay. It was shocking because my son had never expressed any issues with the neighbor before and had always been close to him. Ron was visibly hurt and offered to leave, but I insisted he stay, but he said it was okay and left anyway. My daughter and I were rightfully upset, and I admit we were yelling. I asked what his problem was, and he yelled back, saying he couldn't help not wanting to be around Ron all the time. I tried being calm, asking my son why he would say something like that to Ron, and at this point, my daughter had already left and went with Ron. My son refused to answer me and just kept saying he was sorry. I told him I'm not the one to be saying sorry to. I told him I raised him better than this, and this made him cry. In the heat of the moment, I made the decision to ground my son. I took away his phone, PS5, and all his electronics, leaving him with only the TV in his room without the remote. He started crying even more and begged me not to go through with it, but I stood firm, telling him he needed to apologize to Ron the next morning. Now I'm conflicted. My daughter supports my decision, but when I spoke to Ron, he suggested I let it go, assuring me he would be okay. I think he might be right. I tried talking to my son again, but he is straight up refusing to talk to me and keeps saying please leave him alone in a quiet tone. I don't think I'm in the wrong for grounding my son, but I'm wondering if I went too far, considering it's his first time saying something like this. Am I the a-hole for the way I grounded him? Here are some relevant comments. Sounds like your son may have been hit on. Yeah, I've been reading the comments and a lot of people suspect that Ron did/said something to my son. I felt horrible because that never came to mind. I was thinking about confronting Ron and asking him about it, but I didn't want to accuse Ron of doing something without evidence and potentially making things worse. So I told my son I would consider giving his electronics back if he tells me why he said what he said, and reacted that way towards Ron. I told him that I'm not going to force him to tell me, but I'll be here when he's ready to talk, and he just told me, okay. Update. Hello everyone, I wanted to provide an update on the situation regarding my son. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for your insights and advice. It's been a challenging time, but I'm happy to share that my son was finally open to talk to me. After I grounded my son, he still refused to talk to me until a couple of days ago. On Wednesday, he told me that he wanted to talk to me. I was so happy that my son was finally open to talk. Anyway, long story short, my son told me that he has feelings for Ron, and when he told Ron that he liked him, Ron rejected him and told him that he viewed him more as a little brother instead. This honestly shocked me because I didn't think my son was gay, so I guess some of you were right. My son started crying and asked me if I still loved him, and this broke my heart. I told him that I love him regardless, but he has to understand that his actions were wrong, and he can't just be hateful towards Ron just because he rejected him. We then had a heart-to-heart conversation about love, rejection, and respecting others' feelings. After our conversation, he told me that he didn't mean what he said, but he just wanted Ron to leave as he didn't want to see him. I then told my son that he should apologize to Ron, but he said that he doesn't want to see Ron right now because he feels it would be awkward. I decided not to force my son to apologize to Ron directly, understanding that forced apologies might lack sincerity. Instead, I encouraged him to reflect on his actions and, when he's ready, express his remorse in his own way and on his own time. Trying to be understanding, I decided to return his TV remote and PS5. However, his phone remains confiscated as a reminder to him that the way he behaved was not acceptable. Ron and my daughter have distanced themselves from hanging out around our house. If I'm being honest, I'm positive Ron knew what this was about because he was adamant about not punishing my son for what he said. I do admire Ron because of his maturity and his kindness. Now, my daughter is now upset with me for being lenient. She said that I'm actively supporting his homophobic behavior. I told her that I had a heart-to-heart conversation with her brother and that he understands what he did was wrong, but she's still upset. My son didn't want to come out to his sister yet, so I didn't feel comfortable telling her what the conversation was about. Anyway, I'm glad my son was finally open with me about how he's feeling, and I'm glad that we were able to finally talk. But I'm sad that my daughter is upset with me, so now I have to work out a way to fix my relationship with her. However, I do think this will blow over once my son is finally ready to come out to his sister, and I'm hoping she'd be understanding on why I decided to be a little lenient with his punishment. Okay, so who thought he was secretly homophobic and who thought that he was secretly gay? I was honestly in secretly homophobic camp, and then the mask slipped off, but then we talked a little bit more and read the story, and I was like, oh, I see it now. My gaydar is just not working, guys. It's not as good as it used to be. But this has been a long video, guys, and I'm glad that this man has found himself, and hopefully he apologizes, and hopefully the relationship with the daughter is better. I think, like OP said, it will probably blow over when she realizes, oh, my brother's gay, and is having a confusing time coming about this. So hopefully the family gets restored, and thanks for watching. Like I said, it's been a long one, but you powered through it. You and me. I'm hungry. All right. Am I the a-hole for being mad at the best man's girlfriend for making him choose between a dog and our wedding? My fiance, M29, and I, F26, got engaged last October after 6 years together and plan to marry this October. We both have very complicated families, so we thought a lot about our wedding and we decided that we just want peace and don't want to worry about all the family drama. So we planned to get married in Italy with only our best man and maid of honor. It's only a 4-hour drive to a small city we once discovered on a road trip. We invited my maid of honor and his best man to the wedding, we'll call him Mike, M29, and told them that they could bring their significant others as well. The trip would be fully paid, and Mike is my fiance's best friend since kindergarten. Mike's girlfriend, let's call her Courtney, F28, and him are together for 3 years. We were very welcoming towards her, and I befriended her as well. We did a lot of things together, helped them move and build their home. Mike and Courtney are getting a dog, hopefully in September, so Mike told us he needed a different hotel because the one we chose is not dog-friendly, and at the time of our wedding, October, they would probably have the dog. We apologized and looked for another hotel. Then he texted that Courtney thinks the dog wouldn't make the long drive, which we understood. We said that there are probably a lot of friends and family who could take the dog, but Courtney doesn't want that. Mike told us that Courtney would probably stay home with the dog and he would travel alone. Here comes the drama. The following day, Mike wrote us he will not come to our wedding because Courtney doesn't want to be alone with the dog for the weekend, and she would also like to attend the wedding. Courtney wrote to me that we could change our wedding month or the place, maybe just a wedding in our hometown, so that they could come. I said no. If we married in our hometown, the families would all want to attend, and all the drama between parents and siblings would stress us out. My fiance asked Mike again if he couldn't come alone, and he finally told us that Courtney threatened to end the relationship if he doesn't stay with her and the dog. My fiance was absolutely sad and disappointed and told Mike his feelings. He's not normally overly emotional, but that was hard for him. Courtney wrote me the following day as if nothing had happened, and I told her that I'm absolutely disappointed in her and can't understand her behavior and how she puts this dog, who is in absolutely no danger or needs to have 2 people dog-sitting him, over our wedding, and kind of expected her to apologize for all the stress she put us through. She called me an insensitive and offensive person, a bridezilla who wants her wedding above everything, and said she couldn't accept my behavior even if I apologized. I just can't comprehend why I should apologize. I feel like I can express to friends if I'm disappointed, and I absolutely didn't write anything offensive. Edit. To clarify, English is not my first language. Sorry if there are any mistakes. And to clarify, there was no dog yet. They talked to a breeder. He said that if his dog mama got pregnant and he has more than 3 babies, they would get one in September. And here are some relevant comments. Some users said, Courtney is out of line and not worth knowing. And OP said, okay, thanks. I really couldn't understand her either and started doubting myself. My birthday is in 2 weeks, and I wrote Mike that I don't want her to attend because I'm too mad about all of that. And he wrote me back that she said that she doesn't want to see me or my fiance for the next few months, even if I do apologize. So I guess not seeing her will be an easy thing. Then some more people in the comment section said, why can't they just postpone getting the dog for a month? They want to get the dog from a breeder who said it's mandatory to get the dog after 12 weeks or someone else would get the dog. Wait, so the dog isn't even pregnant yet? And they don't know how many puppies she'll have? Yes, you are absolutely right. Maybe I should have made that more clearer. A, the dog is not even pregnant, and B, they don't know if there are enough babies for them to get one. They have priority 4. That's why I wrote that they will hopefully get one in September, because it's not even clear if it's happening. Yes, they talked to a breeder and he put them on the list. OP, do you think there's any financial or monetary reasons behind this? And can you elaborate on the dog and the breeder? They talked to a breeder and he put them on the list. The dog is not even pregnant, but if she gets pregnant, and if she has more than 3 babies, they would get a dog in September. A lot of ifs, and I don't think it's about money. Everything would be fully paid by us, and I really don't think we gave her any reason to hate us, but I don't know. OP, this just makes Courtney's argument feel even worse. Yes, if I wouldn't feel so sorry for my fiance and a little bit for Mike, I would find it absolutely justified and funny if they don't get a dog. Maybe Mike would wake up about this terrible choice if he missed our wedding and didn't even get a dog. So he just has to sit at home alone with Courtney while we have a blast in Italy. Then in the comments section, more users asked about Mike and Courtney. We did tell Mike that we are not changing anything now, and he told us that he won't come to our wedding. He's sad about it, but doesn't want to break up with Courtney. They recently built a house together, and she talks all the time about children, so it's pretty serious between them. My fiance and I don't even know what to feel about all of that. Update the next day. We discussed sending this thread to Mike, but ultimately decided against it, as my fiance first wanted to talk to Mike himself before revealing that I posted the whole thing on the internet. They met in secret yesterday. Courtney was at work, and Mike broke down crying. It's been super stressful for him. He had asked his family, especially his mom, to dog sit, but Courtney declined. His mother was furious that he would miss my fiance's wedding. She loves him, by the way, but Courtney told her that she had changed her mind and decided to let Mike go, but that I then wrote her an offensive and mean message, so they decided against it. Mike lost it at that and told his family that she had never allowed him and that my message wasn't mean at all. He really told her that he wants to go and she should just live with that. She cried a lot and he felt bad. My fiance told Mike that he asked another friend of his who has a little child to come, and he said yes. His wife even asked us if we wanted her and the baby to come. She would understand if that's too much, but we were happy to invite them as well. Mike cried after hearing this and realized that he will not attend our wedding now because of Courtney. Today, Mike wrote my husband that Courtney told him that she was overreacting because she had the feeling he wouldn't value the dog and that it's a good practice thing for a baby. She doesn't want to apologize to us, but would accept if he goes to the wedding. I think Mike's family made it very clear that they think she's crazy for this, and she wants to be viewed as a good person. My fiance said that he won't change that back, and that Mike sadly will miss the wedding because we can't be sure that there is no more drama with Courtney. I know that this is hard for my fiance, but he hopes that Mike realizes now what Courtney will cost him now and in the future. Thanks for all the good wishes, and I'm happy to be married in Italy this October without Courtney. Thanks. So we've gotten stories like this before in the past, and I would say a fourth, maybe a third of the way through, I had a feeling of what was going on here, and then the story ended and I was like, yep, controlling partner. These people are not healthy to be around. I think we all know this. I don't need to elaborate on that, but I will hope that Mike wakes up and realizes that this is not a woman he needs to be around, because she won't let him go to his best friend's wedding because of a dog that doesn't exist yet? What? Sometimes you just have to say things out loud to realize how ridiculous they sound. So the only thing, I'm glad that OP and her fiance are getting married. I'm glad that they have people there for them. I'm glad that they're bereft of the family drama that they don't even want to touch. But hopefully for Mike, he can get out of this, because Lord knows once kids are involved, oh my God, Courtney is going to... I don't even have a word for what Courtney's going to do. Next story. Story number 2. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my in-laws to see my daughter after they gave her medication? I know how the title sounds, but please bear with me. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I, 24M, and my wife, 24F, recently had our daughter in July. She is the best thing to ever happen to my wife and I, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have our little bundle of joy. She recently got sick while staying with her grandparents, my in-laws, while my wife and I took a trip for work. For context, my in-laws are really big into LifeWave X-39. It's some patch that supposedly helps regrow stem cells by reflecting light rays back into your body, allowing your body to produce more stem cells to fight off diseases and sickness. If you ask me, it sounds like a snake oil, and my wife agrees, calling it a pyramid scheme. The only way they get said patches is by spending well over $1,000, and then you're tasked with selling the patches yourself. It's essentially some multi-level marketing product where the more patches you sell, the more money you make, falling right in line with my wife's comparison to a pyramid scheme. But MLMs are somehow legal. Now, I've tried doing research on X39, and the only comments I've seen praise said product are brand new accounts never used before or after, or their entire profile is dedicated to shilling out LifeWave X-39. In my own research, they appear to just be overpriced stickers. They contain no medication, no special UV rays, or anything of the sort. They are literally just an overpriced sticker with an air bubble. But my wife and I have made it very clear that we wanted no part in X39, nor did we want our daughter to have it. Even if it's fake, we wanted no part in it, and on the off chance it did something, I didn't want our daughter to be used as their lab rat or guinea pig. Now, before we left our daughter with my in-laws, we provided them with some infant medication just in case she got sick. Can never be too safe, you know? Well, we returned home from the work trip early because our daughter wasn't getting any better, so we picked her up and went home. We were going to give her a bath, and in the process of taking her jacket off, we found an X39 patch on her arm. Upon finding it, we immediately called her parents and demanded to know why she had a patch on her. Her parents tried saying that it's safe for babies. We even ordered the ones for ages 7 and younger, and that it's practically medication, their words, which still didn't answer our question. So, my wife checked the go bag, and the Motrin we gave them, while it was used, was not very much used at all. Her parents tried claiming that someone else in their group or whatever gave it to their son and they got better in a week. Point is, we didn't buy it, nor did we care. We've made it abundantly clear that we wanted nothing to do with X39, and we didn't want our daughter to be a part of it, and they failed to listen. My wife was on the phone with them for over an hour, and while I don't know the exact length the conversation went to, I know it at least ended with her screaming, "Going to see my effing daughter again, and if you attempt to come to my house, we will call the police," and then she hung up. That was 3 days ago now, and we've had several missed calls from family members, her parents, her siblings, and even family friends all saying that we overreacted and that they were just trying to help. Maybe we overreacted, but we wanted nothing to do with that, and despite making it clear, they went against our wishes and did it anyways. And instead of giving my daughter actual medication, they tried to give her some placebo patch. Her parents tried claiming that we are stopping them from seeing their only grandchild over something so small, but we didn't want to hear it. So, are we the a-holes? Here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "I kinda think you're the a-hole for leaving your sick baby to go out of town." We didn't leave a sick baby to go out of town. We left her with her grandparents while she was fine. We only packed Motrin because, as I stated in my post, you can never be too careful. She got sick while we were out of town, not before. Then user 2 said, "You say that it's like snake oil, like it's just as bad as the X39. Was it Advil and cough syrup, or just a generic bottle that you wrote infant medication on? You expect us to believe that you gave the medication just in case she got sick, and then she immediately got sick? Come on, this sounds like total BS." Her grandparents don't exactly have children's medication lying around. We packed her Motrin, which I quite literally stated later in the post had you read it, and nor did they have the ability to really go anywhere. They live a good 30 to 40 minutes outside of any nearby town. The drive to and from her parents is a grand whole hour drive from where we live. And my wife and I quite literally work with sick people all the time. No, I'm not a doctor, nor do we have medical expertise, so my wife and I contracting something is usually pretty high. So we pack Motrin or whatever the store brand is that we'll buy every time we left her with her grandparents for more than a day. Update. After my wife essentially cut ties with them and we all received a million phone calls and text messages from family and friends, things quieted down for about a week or two. We started having my sister watch our daughter instead when we had to work. We haven't had another out-of-town trip since the initial post, however. Through those couple of weeks, we never really heard anything beyond a couple of supposed trash-talking posts on Facebook complaining about us, but I can't seem to find the posts. We thought things were, probably hopefully, going to end there, but boy were we wrong, and this is quite the jump from the last post. My wife and I were visited by CPS about 2 weeks ago or so, after they received concerning calls about supposed child abuse and negligence within the household. Of course, nothing like that happened, and the caseworker was very quick to see that. We had asked who reported her, and while she couldn't say, we had a suspicion it was from her parents. We were completely helpful and cooperative with the caseworker, and after she left that night, my wife called her mom up and asked her if she's the one who called CPS. Surprisingly, her mother took full accountability, but, not so surprisingly, tried to spin it around in her favor, claiming that she did it for our own good because our daughter was sick and she wasn't getting any better when she was there, so clearly we were doing something awful as parents. Kids get sick, it happens, but they're also extreme anti-vaxxers. Not just COVID, I mean everything. From even as something as trivial as the flu shot. Yet they're willing to shill out thousands of dollars for some supposed stem cell regeneration sticker. The freaking hypocrisy and irony in their BS is unmatched. My wife really didn't know how to react to that, so she basically told her mom to go F herself, and she wants nothing to do with her again. I know I saw a few comments on the last post saying maybe we shouldn't have cut them out entirely, but now I'm starting to question why we didn't cut them out years ago, before our daughter was even a thought in our heads. About a week after the first audit, my mother-in-law showed up to our house on my day off while my wife was at work and essentially demanded to see our daughter, forcing her way into my home by pushing past my arm. When I told her to get the hell out of my house and that she had no business marching in here like that, she essentially told me that I'm unfit to be a parent because I'm depriving my daughter of help she desperately needed because she's clearly a very sick child. My daughter is perfectly healthy right now, and in fact has had no stuffy nose and no high temperature. Nothing. I told my mother-in-law straight up that she was insane. I went off on her about how she lied to us, went against our wishes, had the audacity to call and lie to CPS and then show up at our house unannounced and uninvited and march herself inside, as well as everything about her X39 LifeWave BS. We argued there for a while before I finally got so fed up and I told her to leave my house before I called the police. She stormed out of the house and in true Karen fashion said, "This isn't over," before slamming my door. I immediately called my wife, who was of course irate. The following morning, we filed a restraining order at the courthouse from her mom and dad because they're clearly not in their right mindset. The caseworker had to audit us a few more times as per their guidelines over the past 2 weeks, and yesterday was her last day where she informed us that we're doing good and she's sorry for the trouble they caused. We kept her up to speed on the LifeWave stuff, the showing up unannounced, and the restraining order, and though she couldn't really take a side, she seemed apologetic. But my wife and I are pretty livid. We started looking at houses in another state to get as far away from her in-laws as possible. Our company has offices out there, so it's entirely possible we could just be transferred. So we're crossing our fingers that all goes well, the restraining order gets filed soon enough, and we'll get a place clear across the country so that this will hopefully be my last update. So, I would just like to briefly address those two commenters from earlier. OP, you left your child with your in-laws and then your kid got sick. That's total BS. What? Kids get sick? Are you stupid? And then the other guy didn't even read the post. What a dumb idiot. Good grief. But you know who's dumber than them? People who fall for MLMs. The grandparents in this story. Oh my God, I don't even want to get into them. I'm tired. I'm tired of stupid people, guys. Aren't you? Can you imagine a world where stupid people don't exist? This is society without stupid people, all right? And it's good and it's great. But we don't live in that. And I want them gone. They won't leave. They keep reproducing. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the videos. It's, I don't have anything else, but I hope your day went well today, and I hope your day goes good tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.